Milkshake. It's our second episode and a very special one. We're here at the BEATGASM Hotel in South Beach, beautiful Miami. Super Bowl weekend fun.
Yes.
Live out here with all of our people.
This is exciting.
Hey, guys.
Nice to see people looking at us like we're,
In a fish tank right now.
What are we doing? We have two microphones, a board, and they're just staring at us.
Can you even hear us out there?
We have nothing to say.
I don't know why they're here, why we have fans here. I'm excited, though. We're here for the Super Bowl. It's exciting. It's fun. There's teams playing the sport ball, and we're here talking about marketing.
And that one guy over there seems a little strange, but he's staring at us, so we may have to pull him up here later. But he is he's really looking at us hard.
Oh, that guy in the red shirt right there?
Yes. So maybe we'll pull him up later and get his opinion on some things. But,
I thought it was somebody. I don't know that guy. It is kind of creepy, but might throw me off my game a little bit here.
So Jeff, before we get started, and I know we've got a lot to go over today. We've got a great show planned for everybody. But after our initial podcast, I got a few questions, and one I thought I'd throw over to you. I was asked why the name Milkshake, and I said, great question. I'll leave that up to Jeff because that was your choice.
Yeah, I could come up with an amazing story here. If you didn't put me on the spot, I would have planned out this whole thing. To be honest, I love milkshakes, and I like to shake things up, and I like milk and milkshakes, and it's cool. I think it's a representation, like we talked about, of everything we're talking about. Like, you can get 50 million different types of milkshakes, and I think that's the kind of guy we are, both of us, the type of dudes that we are is we're pretty diverse guys that like to mix things up a bit.
No, that's great. Honestly, I had no answer other
It just
than
stands out.
Everybody likes milkshakes.
It's a name that stands out.
We hope everybody likes what we have to say.
Yeah, I've not met a person that thoroughly doesn't enjoy a milkshake.
Nope.
So
we're good.
I think I'll come up with a better answer. Ask me that again next week, and I'm going to come up with a better answer.
Right,
Each
good.
week we should start that way, and I have a different answer. But that's the one for now.
Perfect. We'll go with that one.
So that's it this week. So yeah, we're here, Super Bowl. It would only be fitting if we talk about Super Bowl stuff with marketing.
Yeah.
And so going along the lines of last week of our top 5, we decided we're going to do a top 3 with a couple honorable mentions for our favorite Super Bowl ads, and then something special after that as well. And maybe we'll talk about football. Who knows?
And
since we're out here and these guys are wearing stupid jerseys for Chiefs and 49ers and the Packers.
I actually see a Cowboys jersey back there. I need to laugh at that guy.
Come on, man. Let's not hate on the Cowboys. It's only been 25 years, but we'll make it again. I believe in the Cowboys out there. And I feel like we've lost fans now that I've decided to share everybody I'm a Cowboys fan. So
that is a shame. So,
if you want to start the list, like I said, we're going to talk about our favorite Super Bowl ads.
Yeah, so we are talking about our top 3 this week. Although, as Jeff mentioned, we both have honorable mentions, and we have not really talked about our list. So there may be some duplicates here, but just to warn everybody who can't see us, like these folks walking around here.
Unfortunate for them.
There is a little age difference between Jeff and myself, and I come from a different generation, a much younger generation than Jeff. And so we're going to have different commercials, actually, because just my time growing up was well before Jeff's, actually. And some of the commercials from the earlier years resonated with me. And as time went on, there were some great commercials, and they resonated more with Jeff. So I think we'll get a really good overview of the greatest commercials in Super Bowl history today between the both of us. But I'll kick it off with my number 3. But really, number 3 is, we both kind of picked 5, but we don't think we're going to have time to dive into all 5. So I'm going to talk about my 2 honorable mentions real quick and start with my number 3. So there's 3 that really jump out at me. One, I was a big part of the .com boom, right? And at that time, they were spending a lot of money on commercials at companies that just came and went. They drop $1 million, $2 million on the spot. You never hear from them again. But Monster.com had one that came out that was just hilarious. And I know that Monster did very well afterwards, but it was basically called When I Grow Up. And they would have all these little kids basically quoting lines like, when I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder to middle management.
I remember this.
Hey, when I grow up, I want to be a brown noser. These are real lines from the commercial. When I grow up, I want to be a yes man. And sadly, I see a lot of that today. It's really...
it's like what I've turned into.
All these people did grow up, and they all became those things. So that's one of the honorable mentions. I just love it from the .com days, and it was funny.
Sure.
The second one, and the reason this one really sticks with me is I'm a father of 3 girls, right? I also have a son, but my 3 girls are all very talented, athletic, and aren't quite like the old traditional girls. And
so nothing like you.
Nothing like me. I do throw like a girl. But there was an ad for Always, a feminine product called Like a Girl. And they basically had like a 10-year-old boy, and they'd say, hey, show us how a girl throws. And he threw in an awkward motion, almost teasing how girls throw. And they said, show us how a girl runs. And he ran awkwardly. And they went to a 10-year-old girl and said, hey, how does a girl throw? And she threw like a normal 10-year-old person would throw, boy or girl.
Right.
And they asked her to run. And they just wanted to show that girls can lose confidence. If you make them think they're awkward, they can't run. It really resonated with my daughters, and they brought that up last week. And I was like, yeah, I do remember that one. But it didn't make my top 3.
Just wasn't that important enough for you.
It's as a father, it is,
No, I get it. I have several daughters. I relate.
In light of the recent events with Kobe,
yeah.
Granted, that's sad and all, but really what hits home to me is the death of the kids on that helicopter.
Yeah.
And as a father, I can't imagine losing somebody. So that commercial, the Kobe incident, all kind of come together. But anyway, my number 3, here we go, and then I'll kick it over to you for your honorable mentions. And number 3 is Where's the Beef?
I love it.
Yeah, this was a Wendy's commercial, and it mocked basically McDonald's. They showed a big bun and a tiny little beef patty in there, and they had 3 old ladies staring at it, and one of them finally said, where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
It was very funny back then, and it really stuck with people, and we're 15, almost 20 years apart.
Right.
And we both know this commercial, and we both had shirts, or we both made jokes or innuendos about where's the beef.
Where's the beef?
Even today, amongst older people, maybe not my kids, everyone still jokes and still has jokes about where's the beef. So Wendy's. My number 3 was Wendy's with Where's the Beef.
I love it because there's not a time to this day that I don't go to Wendy's and think of that.
See?
Truly.
Yeah.
Like, I had that shirt when I was a kid, like you said, a little bit younger, and I had that shirt, I guess it came probably the mid-'80s or so is when that campaign came out.
Ooh,
I can't
good
remember.
Question.
But I still remember those old ladies. I've even looked up, like, where are they now? They're all dead. I figured out because they were pretty old at that time.
Yeah.
But it's such a funny commercial because back then it's kind of, it was obviously taking a jab at, McDonald's and kind of their big bun and all that. But and showcasing the square patty, which is pretty unique at the time, still is.
And also, Wendy's was the first one whose small burger was a quarter pounder back in the day.
Okay.
So McDonald's still had that little round eighth of I don't even know what it was.
Yeah, you don't really get a...
And that was a joke, basically.
Yeah.
McDonald's will give you their small burger is small, Wendy's is, look at how beefy ours is. And,
I love the shirt. I had it forever. I wish I could have it again. It's a conversation starter, to say the least. For people that don't know what it is.
Maybe one of our sponsors will send us some.
Anyone out there have one?
I see none in the crowd.
None. I see stupid team jerseys and that guy with the red shirt.
The red shirt. Yeah, the red shirt guy. Somebody find out his name and get it to us because we may need to file
Megan,
a restraining
can you find
order.
out who he is? Maybe we need to chat with that guy later because he's really creeping me out.
I know. I'm really thinking restraining order.
All right. So luckily there's some witnesses here this time around. So, all right. So I'll get into my honorable mentions to start with. And ironically, Where's the Beef is actually on that. So I won't talk into that since we talked about that. Another honorable mention for me is the Old Spice commercials. Started a whole slew of those campaigns, and they were just funny. I mean, they really just genuinely were funny and really brought back Old Spice at a time when it was just considered old. Like, old dudes wear Old Spice, and it made it so youth were like, oh, maybe I can do that. And they got deodorant now. Like, it doesn't have to be that old smell or whatever with it. It just made it edgy and cool again. So I really appreciate it, just not enough to be in the top 3. Another one that's just super funny was this FedEx Caveman commercial where back in the caveman days, this guy, he goes and he's about to send out a package on a pterodactyl. And so it goes on the pterodactyl, and a few seconds later, you see like a T-Rex eat the pterodactyl, right? As he flies off. So he goes back to the cave and he tells the guy in his caveman language, hey, package didn't make it, right? And I guess the guy, his boss or whatever, was like, should have used FedEx. And then the caveman that sent it out, he's like, it doesn't even exist yet. Like, it doesn't even exist. It's not fair. It doesn't exist. And he's like, I don't care. You should have used FedEx, like, you should have created FedEx. And so he goes out and then he kicks like this little dinosaur, like a kick the dog syndrome kind of thing. Right. And as soon as he does that, this larger dinosaur steps on him and kind of kills him at that point. And it's just funny all the way around, the humor behind it. And I like that. It was just funny, to say the least.
I like that. It's sad now. Our first 2 podcasts have both mentioned FedEx.
Yeah.
They better come up
Interesting.
big with the commercials next year.
Interesting. I'd be curious tonight, in the game, like what actual commercials FedEx, if they're in the game or not. Budweiser will be, some of the staples that always are.
Maybe
but
they'll take an excerpt from our podcast and use it for their next commercial.
I'm sure they're listening.
Of course.
They do.
Of course.
They love the milkshake. So my number 3, I just spoke on them, was Budweiser, and they do a ton. So you can't just pinpoint one or the other. They do a lot of funny ones. They did some of the emotional with the horses ones and some of the other ones. But the 2 that stuck out to me, it's almost like Where's the Beef, was the What's That one. Yeah, and the frog one with the Budweiser. That one. Those 2, because I was in school during that time. I don't know, middle high school.
Big. Yeah.
And literally for years, that's all people ever did. That and the frog one, and that's even when I hear the word Budweiser now, or someone says, "Hey, what's up, Bud?" I still remember that frog. It immediately goes to my mind. Just creative, just different at the time. The whole point of the Super Bowl ads, obviously, is everyone's trying really hard. We get it, but those stood out. It's a good 3rd place for me. Funny, but something that can be remembered, just like the Where's the Beef, kind of campaign with that.
And you're right. They've had a ton of great ones, right? I do recall one they also had, and this is not in my list, where the puppy kept running away to go be with the Clydesdales.
Yeah.
And that was a more emotional one.
Right.
Connecting puppies and the
I remember that one.
It was really good.
Went and trained him. The Rocky music played and all that.
I don't remember.
I think that was it.
But it was kind of cool. The puppy kept running away from home to be with the Clydesdales.
Yeah.
And finally, at the end, they adopted it. So, Bud does a great job with their commercials. Yeah.
We don't have any right now in front of us.
And the guy in the red shirt definitely has had 1 or 2 already, though. He has had,
I really want to talk to this guy.
He has had maybe too many.
Let's can somebody get him up here in a minute for real.
Yeah.
I want to see who this guy is.
Yeah, Megan, go get his name and report back to us. We'll bring him up here shortly. Just check him for weapons. Okay, my number two, right?
Yes.
Boy, I'm still torn, even going into the top 2, but I'm going to go with 1984 as number 2. It's Apple, obviously.
Yep.
They were releasing the Macintosh back in 1984. And the commercial is kind of cool. And actually, it's a minute-long commercial. And I remember watching it for 55 seconds and not even knowing what the product was. You didn't, right? You saw these gray drones walking through, marching into a big arena to listen to Big Brother. And then there's a girl running down the middle of the aisle with a sledgehammer that she throws at the screen and basically breaks up Big Brother. The interesting thing about it is, back in those days, everybody was PC-based. Everybody was, a drone to the PC, and that's what Macintosh was saying, be different. Ironically, today, if you ran that same commercial, people would be walking around with their iPhones, like drones, and almost Big Brother-ish, because everything on your phone is recorded and tracking you. So where, in 1984, it was interesting that Macintosh was breaking up Big Brother. They have become Big Brother, but that is my number 2.
Steve Jobs was definitely predicting the future with that one.
Exactly.
It's interesting on that one. Ridley Scott directed that.
He did.
And the fact that Steve went out and said, I want this to be the best. I'm going to pay, I think somewhere around $800,000 they paid for that commercial to produce that, for a Super Bowl ad, which nowadays they spend that kind of money and they pay a lot more for the advertising spot itself.
But huge in 84.
Yeah. And just, I still remember that one, and it definitely was on my list as like a,
And here's an interesting fact. Within 3 months of that commercial running, they sold over $150 million worth of Macintoshes.
Wow.
So the commercial worked, obviously paid for the production, it paid for the cost of the ad, and Macintosh, Apple.
Well, and like you said, it was a pivotal time to introduce Apple. When everything was PC-based, when people still didn't quite get personal computer use at that time
DOS.
either.
If you didn't know DOS,
Right.
Yeah.
If you didn't, and then Apple comes out and it's this edgy, literally 99% of the commercial has nothing to do with Apple, but it's revolutionary. That's what it was like.
Yep. And it said hello to you.
Right, which was huge.
And nowadays that's nothing but
it reminds me of our last one where we talked about you've got mail. It's that whole kind of thing.
Bingo.
Just that kind of branding side of it. So good. I like that one. It was on my list for honorable mention, but further down
for the old folks, right?
Mainly I didn't choose that because I was 2 or 3 when it came out, so I can't speak on how it affected me watching it live. So I didn't want to be that guy. I remember when this happened. Right. So I can't be at your age, therefore. Number 2 for me, Doritos. So there's so many Dorito ads, but I'm going to talk about them in general as a whole. When they started doing the fan-based commercials, it's the most brilliant thing that they did. I remember I created one to send off, didn't win, obviously wasn't that good. But the first one I think they did was this guy, and it was so low quality, low budget, which was kind of great too. He was driving in his car, and then he slams on the brakes because he's staring at this girl while he's eating Doritos, and it smashes, and it says crunch, and then it shows her and all that. And but what they did by opening it up to fans being able to interact was one of the first elements of viralness that we have now. And it was before social media was even really, really big, but it was social media. People started sharing wherever they could, like, hey, like, I'm doing this one. My friend did this one. We got to vote for this one. It's just this promotion they created gave them so much more to talk about before and after than just that ad. And I thought it was brilliant. They still do it to this day. People still submit. I'll be curious what it is this year.
I do recall that ad, and I do recall it being viral. But like you said, viral was different back then. You would have to go to their website.
Right.
And you'd have to look at the different commercials and vote. So a lot different than it is today, but a great commercial. In fact, I was watching one of their Doritos commercials this morning that I loved back in, it was like 5 years old.
Right.
The Time Machine one. So if you get a chance, look that one up.
Yeah.
It is funny. It's one of the funnier ones that I've ever seen.
I wonder if it's a fan-made one or not.
That I do not know. I just know that that's one that came up, and it didn't quite make honorable mention, but it was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
All right, so we're down to our number one, and I see that we are definitely doing a strip search on the guy in the red shirt.
Hold on, is he up? Is he coming up now?
Not yet, I don't think. I think Megan's going to hold him back.
I don't even see him right now
until we get done with our top three, and then we'll see what's going on with that guy.
I do want to talk to him, man, because he gives me the creeps.
What's up with those glasses too, man? I know he can't hear us, so. A little weird.
Anyway,
right.
That guy understands.
Listen, it's great being live because people don't know us.
Yeah.
They probably think we work for, like, ESPN.
They
8,
do.
The Ocho.
Well, it helps that in the backdrop of us right now at the BEATGASM Hotel here at the Clevelander, it's ESPN Studios in the backdrop here. It has nothing to do with us, but I think people stopped in because of that.
Listen, we'll steal the branding, right? We have not said we're working for ESPN, and we're not. We are a Milkshake.
I can't help that it's right behind us.
Nope.
I can't help that BEATGASM was great enough to host us here and have us down here. So,
and it's not my fault. I'm wearing an ESPN shirt. It really means
I'm wearing a BEATGASM one. So,
and for you that can't see me, I am not wearing ESPN.
No, he's wearing a very drab Hawaiian-looking shirt.
Yeah, with "Where's the beef?"
Where's the beef?
Very Miami right now.
Right.
We're trying to be.
All right, man. Number one, number one of all time. And again, this is more, I think, generational, right?
Right.
And it goes back. And this one was probably produced when I was 10 or younger, maybe. Quite honestly, it's an oldie. But Coca-Cola comes in at number one with Mean Joe Green. I'm sure everyone has seen the commercial in some form this day. But if you haven't seen it, it's basically a little kid standing in the hallway outside of the football game, and Mean Joe Green comes stumbling off the field. He's hurt. He's been beaten, worn down from the battle on the football field. And the kid offers a Coke. Mean Joe Green drinks it and throws the kid a jersey. It's very touching. The outtakes from that commercial are hilarious. So if you can ever go find them, because he actually did drink the entire Coke in one sip many times, and every time he drank it, he couldn't stop burping. So there's a lot of outtakes about him going, "Hey kid," and making those type of sounds. Hilarious. And then of course there's been parodies all over the place of that.
Right.
I know what I remember. And one of the parodies that really stuck out, I think it was definitely a swimmer, and the swimmer came out of the pool and was walking down the tunnel to go, to their locker room. And of course, when they drank the Coke, they threw their bathing suit. Now, of course, there was no nudity in the parody, but the kid got some stinky old bathing suit thrown on his head. So, but there's a ton of them out there. They're all funny, and they're all engaging. So that is my
it's
number
very
one.
Heartfelt, and it was unique to use a celebrity at that time, a football player. That was probably one of the first. I don't know because it was before my time.
I can't even tell you the year, but.
Probably early 80s, I would imagine.
I bet it was before
70s.
that. I bet it was 70s.
You're right. Before my time is all I know. And I do think one of the questions I have in watching that commercial: how did the kid get in the tunnel?
Well, with no security around them.
Yeah,
he is just standing there.
And did they have glass bottle Cokes?
It was glass.
Did they have those at the stadiums back then?
No.
I know. So those are the discrepancies I see.
You're picking apart
and trying to
things.
overanalyze. But I love your number one.
I'm not going to go back to make fun of your commercials.
Please do, because this next one you should.
Good.
And honestly, I don't know if it should be number one on anybody's list. But no matter what, to this day, I wish I could pull it up here so everybody could see. no matter what, it makes me laugh constantly. Like, and to me, humor is everything. I love
Yes.
heartfelt. I love the ones you're talking about with the girls, and having daughters myself. I totally relate to that, and empowerment for women and things like that. That's all great. But humor, some reason, always trumps it always for me. And it was the Terry Tate Reebok ones, the office linebacker ones.
Number one.
And there was a whole short series out of that.
There was.
That was done, but it was released at first at the Super Bowl. And I don't remember what year it was or anything like that, but every 2 seconds you're busting out laughing when he's running and just tackling people
Old
in this
people,
office.
ladies, yep, it didn't matter.
I'm trying to remember some of the stuff that he said. I wish I would refresh my memory, but like stuff about like cover letters, stuff about, you're using too much of this, and like just tackle and slam them. And you didn't even know. It's one of those like Apple, you didn't even know what it was for until the very end. It was for Reebok or whatever it was. But then it was creative, and the reason it really jumped to my number one, other than being funny, is because it was this short series that it was prolonged. It was this element of viralness again, just like with the Doritos that we talk about, where it became its own thing and had a living form after the fact.
But Jeff, that couldn't have happened because if you tackle somebody in the office, you're going to get fired. So this is not a realistic commercial.
I see what you're doing there, and that's why that guy's booing you right now.
But that made me laugh as well. I love those commercials. I love when people were standing at the water cooler wasting time. He'd tackle them.
Right,
It was
right.
just classic, and
Right.
he's a big man.
So I found out this guy's name is Rick. That's been staring at us. That's what they've just told me. Rick. Rick is up. Come on up here.
Do
Rick.
we want Rick up here now, or do you want to hold him off and go over our
I think he should
concerts?
come up
You
here.
want him now? Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. All
let's
right.
let's figure out who
I'll
this guy
share
is.
my
He's
mic
creeping
with
me
him.
out.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
share my mic with him. Go ahead.
Rick, man, what's up?
Okay, guys, I think we've heard enough about commercials. Let's talk about some football.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about sports. We can talk about football. We'll get into that a little bit. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? I mean,
but there's 3,000 pregame shows going on.
yeah, there's tons of ESPN ones.
Yeah, Rick.
I'm sorry that we're not.
Nice glasses, Rick.
Yeah, but speaking of, let's entertain him really. Like, who's gonna win, Rick? Since you're the expert.
I want to hear, Rick, what insight, what really insightful knowledge you have.
Who wants to hear from Rick?
Yeah, come
and
on.
Who, he
Who wants
thinks
to
he's
hear from
gonna win
Rick?
the
Right?
game?
Come on, let's hear
y'all.
it. Come on. All right, Rick. Mike's all yours, bud.
Chiefs all day, baby. I mean, what can I say? They have a good combination of star quarterbacks, a wide arsenal of running backs. I mean, the only thing that really makes me nervous about the Chiefs winning is they just make so many bonehead plays. And, if the 49ers, if they even get a scent of one of those plays, like they'll take advantage of that and they'll take it home. But my official prediction is going to be the Chiefs, and mark my words, I think they'll take
Yeah,
it.
somebody get this guy off of here, man. Like,
Jeez, great knowledge. You mentioned nothing about San Fran's defense. Nice job, Rick. Go back to your opera club.
we'll talk more about football, but I do, because I agree. We're here. We're football. It's exciting. It's an electric environment right now. Everybody's excited about the game. They're excited about us right now for some reason. We do have people still sitting here from the beginning of it.
I do think they think we're with ESPN. I do think because they're stuck here. They're looking at us like we're somebody.
I hope they didn't pay to sit out here. Like, that's disappointing. If that's the case, we're all going to buy you "Where's the Beef" shirts. I promise. Like, we'll hook you up.
And that guy's taking either video or pictures over there.
I need somebody to
His
escort.
girlfriend's laughing at us.
I need to escort Rick somewhere because he's still hovering
He's
over
standing
here.
over there.
So
Make sure Megan pushes him out of here.
So with that being said, kind of a something special, just because it all comes into line with the Super Bowl, is talking about the halftime shows. I mean, people watch the Super Bowl these days, unless you're fans of the two teams, which for me it's been 25 years. You're watching it for the ads and you're watching it for the halftime show. I mean, that's why it's such the biggest event that it is. So we decided we'll do our favorite halftime show and why. But there's a couple honorable mentions, and I'll start. If you
Go
want,
ahead. Yeah, no, you go first.
Kind of
this
go
time.
there.
Sure.
Prince for me is an honorable mention. It was raining. There's a whole behind the scenes behind that. I mean, he was the guitars he was using and the electric amps he was using could have shocked like everybody out there, and he was and destroyed it. I mean, he really, like, at a time when Prince had been gone for quite a bit, and he came back and just proved who Prince really was and the importance to music that he was. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It was perfect timing for that.
Beautiful.
And it was beautiful that it was raining.
Yes.
And, purple rain.
Purple
on
rain
this.
in the rain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
great in that. The other one, I wish I could say is my favorite, but I feel it's too cliche. Hopefully it's not on your list, and I make fun of you already for that. But is Michael Jackson's performance. And the reason for me it's one of the best, but it's not the number one for me, is I was a young kid. It was the first time the Cowboys had been in the Super Bowl since the 70s, and this was in 92, 93, that first year. And it was Michael Jackson. And the energy of Michael Jackson alone and the celebrity of Michael Jackson, just the power behind him was massive already. And the way that he had, like...
all the kids loved him.
Yeah. You should watch a documentary on that. There's a couple out there. Yeah, all the kids.
We are well-versed in all topics here,
we
not
are.
just sports.
Macaulay Culkin's going to come out and speak for a little bit for us. No, but so Michael Jackson, it was a great set. Like he popped up. He had like people pop up on the corners, and
yes.
Then he popped in the middle and did his dance and did the thing that Michael Jackson does. It was during the day, so it was kind of like daylight performances aren't as good, but he made it great. But anyway, the number one for me, the top one.
Well, hold off. Because let me do my two honorable mentions real quick.
Fine, yeah.
And then you can do your number one. I'll do my number one.
All right, let's hear that.
Sadly, your two honorable mentions are the exact two I had listed.
Okay.
Prince, Michael Jackson would have been first. Prince would have been number two if we were doing top three. Prince was an icon for my generation.
Mm-hmm.
In '83, Purple Rain came out. If you didn't see the show live, you were nobody. I mean, everybody went to the concert. He even had a movie, which was horrible, called Purple Rain.
Right.
It was
I remember it.
It was terrible. But when I watched it when I was like 17, when it came out, I thought it was like the greatest movie ever.
Right.
Years later, I went back to watch it with my wife, Liz, and we were like, what the heck? This is horrible. But when that album hit, Prince became a god, right? He was the next big thing. And that concert in the rain, singing Purple Rain, and as you mentioned, there was all kinds of warnings. Hey, maybe you don't want to do the electric guitar thing. And he's like, no, I'm doing it. I'm
Prince.
Put me out there.
Yeah.
So he and Michael Jackson are my two runners up as well. Hopefully we don't have the same number one. So let's see what happens here. Go ahead.
Yeah, my number one was Bruno Mars.
I love Bruno.
And I think he's done it 3 times, 2 at least.
At least twice.
I know he did one with Beyonce. That's not the time I'm talking about because I think she kind of ruined that show for him. It's the time that he came out and the Chili Peppers came out partway through it. And I watched it again with my wife last night as through it. And I'm not even a Bruno Mars fan. And I think a lot of that is because some of my kids and my wife listened to him nonstop, and I got pretty tired of it. Honestly, the same song about perms and things like that. And just I enjoy his musical talent, and he's definitely talented in that sense. But in this production, for Super Bowl halftime, millions of eyes watching you, he starts off with a choir of kids singing. And it's like different. People people done choirs and some of the other things that we talked about earlier that were kind of funny and kooky at the same time. It was kind of beautiful, and it jumps into this drum solo, this like quiet drum solo, but this really like talented drum solo that you had no idea that Bruno Mars could do. And he jumps into it, and he's doing that. Then it jumps into an explosion of his music and all of his hits and his dancing. He brings out the Chili Peppers, and they actually sound good, which is rare for them to sound good live, and they did on this stage because of him. And it was just a big production, but the reason it's number one for me is because it was all family, all ages, could really be attracted to it, could really appreciate it and enjoy it. And the production was 100% top tier quality, like no mishaps, like everything just was smooth for it.
I love Bruno Mars. I look for his next album to come out. I know, and as old as I am, you should be embarrassed if you like Bruno Mars too. However, he could be the next Michael Jackson. He's got that talent.
Yes.
He's got the moves. He's got the everything about him.
My wife said the same thing last night. She actually said he dances better than Michael.
He's
and
smooth,
I couldn't get into that because Michael still does that lean that I've not seen anybody else do.
But his shoes were nailed to the floor.
Yeah. Still, though, Bruno Mars wouldn't have even done the halftime show he had if it wasn't for Michael Jackson.
Agreed.
But I still give it to Bruno Mars.
But Bruno hopefully will release new albums, new material soon, and be back up there.
Classic for me.
I am thrilled that we don't have the same number one, which is great. And the nice thing about the halftime shows, unlike the commercials today, sadly the commercials used to be a main event of the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Now they're leaked before the Super Bowl. You see them, and when you're watching the game, you're like, oh yeah, I've already seen this one. That used to be a part of the allure for everyone to sit around and watch the game, was seeing the commercials. Now you can go on Friday, Saturday before
Purposely,
the Super Bowl,
I haven't done it this year.
And I have not either, just because I want to be surprised during the game today. Yeah. And anyway, my number one was in 2002, so it would have been January of 2002, I believe, maybe February. You know how the Super Bowl
whenever they switched that,
Yeah, I'm not sure what month it was, but it was U2. Now, this was right after September 11th, the attacks on New York, obviously, D.C., Pennsylvania,
Yeah, I remember this.
and America. And U2 came out, and as they were playing every name of the people that perished in September 11th, were in the background scrolling as Bono was singing. Bono's tremendous, first off. I love U2. I love his music. And as he finished his set, and all the names had finally scrolled through, and he finished his 3 or 4 songs, and that's all he played, he opened up his leather jacket. And I don't know if you recall this, and I have not even seen this probably since 2005.
But it still stuck with you.
He opened up his jacket, and it was the American flag. So when he opened up, the American flag was there. And as you know, he's Irish. He's not American.
Right, of
but
course.
he paid a great tribute to everybody tied to September 11th from the American side, for the survivors, the people who had perished, the first responders. It was you could see the tears in people's eyes.
Did they play like on a boat and the backdrop was New York City, or was this actually in the stadium? Because I feel like I remember a performance where they were on a boat and you could see the city behind them. I can't remember exactly.
I haven't seen this since probably 15 years now. It's been a long time, so I can't remember the backdrop. I just remember the emotional tie to the victims. And then when he opened up that jacket and he had the American flag displayed, was inspiring. And you could see people in the audience. They were stone cold quiet and just loved what he was doing and how he just paid tribute to everybody. So that was my number one. It happened in January of 2002, I believe. So there's our top.
Somebody out there actually just said it was during the actual stadium.
It
so
wasn't.
that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah, that's a powerful one. I mean, the timing of that one was tough. I mean, it was still new to everybody.
Remember,
talking 3
football
months
shut
later.
down right after that happened for a little bit.
People were scared to be.
No one wanted to go into a stadium. Yeah.
So that was a powerful time to try to reunite, and what better way to do it than an Irishman? And
But he was loved. He's a New York resident now, man.
Everybody loves Bono, man.
He's a great bike rider.
And he doesn't age.
But he cheats. He's wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, it's true.
So it hides the crow's
That's
feet,
true.
it hides the eyes, and But a good-looking man, nonetheless.
Last week I watched Aerosmith come out on the Grammys.
How'd Steven look?
Steven, for his 70s, however old he is now, I mean, he still looks the same. Performance was a little weak. They brought out Run DMC, so it was like this cool reunion they were doing, but all they were doing was kind of yelling over each other. A couple songs, Steven, were like hit really good, and some of them were like, I can tell you're in your 70s now, but you're talking 6 decades of doing music. At least. Yeah. It's about now that we're in the 20s, like 6 decades of doing music.
He's still kicking, man.
Yes, I'm not mad at that. They've obviously done some Super Bowls and weren't on our list either for the halftime. That one they did, I think, was with Britney and NSYNC.
Yeah, there's been a number of great ones. The Rolling Stones were out there.
Yeah.
I actually got to be at the one where the Rolling Stones performed at halftime. And in the stadium, I can tell you the experience was horrible. I actually said, man, they should be embarrassed. That was horrible.
Right.
When I watched it on TV later, it was phenomenal. So go figure, So
Yeah.
I'm jaded on that one. That could have been one of the better ones out there. I just happened to see it live, which made it, non-spectacular, so to speak.
I've not been to a Super Bowl. I was hoping someone out there maybe would give me a ticket for tonight. I've still not been in one. I hope to be there one day. I've been kind of holding off until the Cowboys go back, and I just don't see that ever in the future.
So I've been to 3.
Okay.
Here's an interesting story, and then we'll get into our picks. How about that? So this will now convert us out of the advertising and entertainment business into football.
True.
So I believe it was in Jacksonville. It was Jacksonville because I had to stay. They didn't have enough hotels back in Jacksonville back in the day.
Okay.
So they actually brought in cruise ships into the port, and those were hotel rooms. So I was with AOL at the time, and we rented out probably 50 rooms for all the clients we took and some folks from AOL. So I was coming off the boat the day of the Super Bowl and getting ready to head to the game, right? You're there for a whole week. You're partying, you're drinking, you're just having a blast. And the day of the Super Bowl is actually anticlimactic because it's now just a football game when you've been partying with all these stars and
Right.
around all these big names. It's kind of cool. But so I'm walking off the boat, and there's this guy sitting in this cheap lawn chair. I remember this just like it was yesterday. So whatever year the Jacksonville Super Bowl was, that's when this happened. So he's sitting in a lawn chair on the pier or on the dock. And I walk out, and he opens up a briefcase, and it had to have, and I think it was $8,000 cash. Okay, maybe $10,000. I don't recall the exact number. But he said, I'll give you $10,000 cash for your ticket right now.
Yeah.
Well, and I had no interest in the game. And I was like, I could walk away with 10 grand for doing nothing. However, if it would have been found out, I would have been fired because it was an AOL ticket,
that's
right?
worth it.
But I looked at the money. I was like, damn, I could use 10 grand. And this was probably 15 years ago. I'd have to look at the date. I was tempted.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, okay, is he a cop? Will I get fired? Will I get arrested? But right there, right outside my ship, guy just offering everybody cash for their ticket. And I just said no and kept walking. But
So that's the way I can get a ticket, basically, is what you're telling me.
I believe Pittsburgh was in that game because I think he was a Pittsburgh fan.
Okay. I don't, for this year, so if anybody out there is looking to sell their tickets, and I see this guy raising his hand right there, if anybody's looking to, I don't care as much this year to pay that kind of money for these two teams. Wait, somebody just brought me a milkshake. How sweet.
Nice.
I'll take a little sip here. So, you know what I haven't figured out this year, now that we're transitioning more into the football game itself? Why is this not called the Joe Montana Bowl?
Or Tom Brady Bowl.
Well,
but everybody hates Tom Brady.
Well, Joe Montana obviously played for the 49ers. That's where he made his career, but then went to the Chiefs for a couple of years and almost went back to the Super Bowl with the Chiefs as well. Now we're looking about it's just something I know. Like nobody's taken the opportunity to call this the Joe Montana Bowl.
I am a much bigger Joe Montana fan than Tom Brady.
Yeah. So, but this is his teams.
And
who's
I
he
don't
rooting
think
for?
Montana ever cheated.
No, I don't believe he did that we know of.
No
he did some
speculation.
great job on some Haynes commercials, though.
And someone just pointed out Jacksonville did host a Super Bowl 15 years ago. It was the Eagles, not the Steelers. I know it was Pennsylvania. I got it wrong. So
it was Patriots and Eagles that year.
Yes.
I remember. It was Tom Brady's first, I think.
It was, and Terrell Owens played that game with a broken leg.
Donovan McNabb.
Yes.
I remember that.
And he played with a broken leg. It was Pittsburgh was up in Detroit.
Yeah.
And they won against Seattle with some bad calls that game.
But I remember that T.O. one because he came to Cowboys right after that.
Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot.
Oh, I noticed that Rick's back.
Rick?
he's like making some.
Well, I think he's filming just you right now. I think there might be some.
It's a little creepy. I hope he's not the one that got the milkshake up here because I have no idea what I just drank. Then, if that's the case at all,
I'm not touching mine. Just so you know, I am not. I don't know what's been put in this drink, and
I think there's something very special. I'm telling you, I'm already feeling a little bit of something. Yeah. So. No, back to the Joe Montana Bowl. Yeah, so we got the Chiefs and we got the 49ers. I don't care. I could care less about either of these teams. True story. They mean nothing to me at all in the world of anything. I believe both teams all throughout the year were great. The Ravens were better in the AFC side than the Chiefs. 49ers were the top all the way through for the NFC. There was a little bit of times people thought Saints, sometimes Packers, but the 49ers were constantly. I want to give it to the Chiefs. I think that they'll win it, but I want to give it to them because the last couple of seasons with Mahomes, they've really deserve it. They've been consistent. They've really been playing the way that they should be playing. They have rabid fans who really love their team and have supported them over the years, even in the Joe Montana days when they thought they were going to get close. I don't know how long ago it's been since they've been to a Super Bowl or won.
They have not 50 years.
Okay, so much longer than Cowboys. And, this is deserving. 49ers, this would be their 6th win if they get it. So they would be in that Pittsburgh and that New England range right there as well. So they've been there a lot. Not saying they don't deserve it either.
Agree.
I'm just kind of tired of seeing the same teams.
Well,
and Chiefs mix that up a little bit.
I am going to pull for the Chiefs for a different reason. I do like Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to be dynamic. He stays healthy. He's going to be around a long time and do great things in Kansas City. And hopefully he'll stay there and money won't pull him to a big market like New York or L.A. or maybe even Vegas.
Dallas.
With their team. Yeah, Dallas. They've got the greatest quarterback ever in Dallas. What are you talking about? Go spend
Don't even give me there, man.
Spend $40 million a year on Dak so you won't be good for the next 10 years. I'm all for that. But I'm going with Kansas City as well, but I'll tell you why, and I'm a little biased here. It has nothing to do with Joe Montana. It has nothing to do with San Francisco having 5 Super Bowl rings and what have you. It has to do with what happened with the Atlanta Super Bowl a few years ago. Now, I grew up in D.C. I grew up a Redskin fan, got to see a number of Super Bowls. Under
other people do it.
But Joe Gibbs, come on. I'm not talking about today's Redskins. Dan Snyder's Redskins, no. I cannot be a fan of Dan Snyder. However, when they were owned by Jack Kent Cooke and Joe Gibbs was a coach, the Hogs, John Riggins, Art Monk, Theismann, they won 3 Super Bowls. So I was a Redskin fan, but I moved to Atlanta about 13 years ago, and my kids were pretty young, and they had no allegiance to D.C. So we picked up the Falcons as our team, and the Falcons made it to the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and I think they were down like something like 20-3. I don't know.
Ridiculous amount.
I've never seen it. I don't even remember it. But anyway, it was 20-3, and they had the game wrapped up. And on one of the drives in the fourth quarter, they were in field goal range. All they had to do was run the ball 2 more times and kick the field goal, and there was no way the Patriots could catch them because there just wasn't enough time for 3 or 4 more drives. Anyway, Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Guess where he is today? Mm-hmm. He is the coach of San Fran. So Kyle blew it in Atlanta by his play calling. He called 2 pass plays in a row. I believe there was a sack on one and a holding on another.
And when you have Brady on the other end, you don't give him a chance to get the ball.
Anytime. You run the ball, let the clock go down, make them use their timeouts, you kick the field goal. There was no way Brady could win that game, but Kyle Shanahan was the driving force. They did score a lot of points, but when it came right down to being strategic at the end and being smart, he wasn't. So I can't pull for him to win the Super Bowl. I almost want him to feel the pain again because what he did to all the folks in Atlanta who thought they had the win. So because I'm a converted Falcon fan, Matt Ryan fan, Julio Jones is a beast, and they deserved it. They deserved to win that game. Shanahan took it out of their hands. So I'm hoping that Mahomes takes one out of his hands.
All right. I like that story. There's more of a personal, touch to that. And that was a tough game to watch, I remember, and just felt bad. I think most of the world was rooting for Atlanta for that game just because we were already tired of the Patriots at that point. Just like we still are. Thankfully, we're not talking about them today being in the Super Bowl.
Oh, thank God.
I mean, that's
anybody but the Patriots.
Yeah, and so the Cowboys. Thank you, Nashville, for your team knocking them out early on this year. Beautiful. We could do that. But no, it's a good story. I like that. I just, the 49ers have been here, this is the 3rd time in the last 5, 8, 10 years. I mean, they've been here recently. I'd like to see different teams. It's good for the NFL to mix it up a little bit. And Kansas City is one of those teams that's, kind of forgotten about a lot of the times.
Absolutely. They like I said, it's been 50 years since they've been in a Super Bowl. They were close with Montana. Had his elbow been healthy, if you remember, I don't know if you remember.
I do.
But his elbow was like saggy. Yeah. It was so bad back then.
And he really got them close. I mean, it wasn't at the AFC Championship, and they lost by a field goal or something. I can't remember exact, but it was in the 90s. I remember when this happened. And
he was a stud.
Because I think it was during the time the Cowboys were doing their run, and I wanted a Joe Montana, Troy Aikman showdown. Maybe it was right before that because I know Steve Young and Troy Aikman did a showdown at NFC Championship like 2 years in a row. So I think Montana was at the Chiefs during that time. So I think it would have been in the early 90s right there. Anyway, I'm not a historical data figure that knows everything about everything in life. So that's what we talked about today.
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes left before we have to head over to our real jobs. Get ready for the game. But it's been great, man. And, as long as Rick doesn't stalk us later, I think Megan's got a good grasp on that. I just want to thank all the people out here.
This is Rick guy, though.
Thank you to all the people who are out there watching us. You've been great. Hopefully you'll subscribe to the Milkshake podcast.
And honestly, I want to thank everybody out there right now. There's probably at least 75 people just sitting here the whole time. I saw a couple people left, but like some more people came in. And who are you, honestly, and why are you listening to us?
And they don't even know us. I'm Randy Raines. That's Jeff Rimmer.
Yeah, we don't have anything to give away. We can try, but I'm glad you're here listening. It's cool. Yeah, we have this bell.
We'll pick on people who look like Rick.
No, if you creepily stare me down like Rick was doing this whole time, we're going to bring you up here. And now I regret bringing him up here because I feel like this dude's going to follow me back to the hotel room.
He wants to be our friend.
Yeah.
I don't need friends.
And let's say some thanks to Miami South Beach being like a great host. And the Clevelander here, the BEATGASM Hotel here, like just those guys.
Host.
Man, it's been super nice being right here in the middle of the heart of it all, South Beach, just watching everybody go by outside out here, being in the beautiful weather right now. Couldn't be better. I don't want to go back to our studio and do this anymore.
No, the only thing I ask of the Clevelander is to please restock my minibar.
Yeah, well, good luck on that one.
It's tax deductible, right?
I don't know about all that, but I have a feeling that Rick's going to somehow show up to I am not staying here, Rick. FYI, just so you know, I'm not staying at this hotel.
But he's sitting in section 203, row J, seat 4.
If I even get to go to the game tonight. So thanks to everybody for coming out, for all your fans and people. Milkshake's cool. We're going to do another one here soon, and hopefully you people subscribe. So Wonderful. Good times out there.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, deuces.